In this video, we're going to talk about how to write square root equations using Desmos. So what if you're given a table of values and asked to write a square root function that best models your data? So you can see here in Desmos, I've entered a table of values, and if I go ahead and click Add Regression, notice that square root regression is not available to me in this drop-down menu. So what I'm going to need to do in Desmos is have it write what's called a custom function. So you can see down here it says make a custom regression model in a new line using this sign right here. And you can do that if you want to write any kind of function in Desmos, not just the ones that are available to you in the menu. So what you need to do is tell Desmos the general form of the equation you're trying to write. So for a square root function, this is going to be the general form of the equation. What we have is y1 is approximately a squared of x1 minus h plus k. So instead of x and y, we have to substitute y1 and x1 because that's going to tell Desmos to use the values that are written here in our table. So what you do is you go to the second line and then you type y1 and then you do approximately and then you can type a and then if you type sqrt, it creates a square root sign and then you do x1 minus h and then click outside the square root to do plus k. So notice here what it does is it gives us under regression parameters, it says A is 1, K is 4, and H is 3. What you're going to do is go ahead and plug those back into that equation you have. So you can go ahead and write this as Y equals, well, A is 1, right? 1 times the square root of X minus H, so minus 3, and then plus 4 for our plus K. We usually don't write that coefficient of 1, so you can go ahead and rewrite this equation as the square root of X minus 3 and then plus 4. Okay, so that's how you're going to get that regression equation from Desmos whenever you have a square root function. So remember what we're going to do is we're going to click the plus sign in the upper left corner to create our table. Then once we've entered our data in the next row, we're going to type y1 is approximately a squared of x1 minus h plus k. Then the values that it gives us under parameters, we're going to go ahead and plug that back into this equation, and that's going to allow us to write the equation of the square root function. So now let's do another example. Let's find the square root function that's going to best fit this given table of data. So I'm going to click plus and then create my table, and then I'm going to go ahead and type in these values. And since I'm looking for a square root function right here, I'm going to type y1 is approximately a, and then square root, and then x1 minus h. Click outside the square root and then do plus k. So now you can see here it gives me my parameters. So if I plug those in, I have y equals 1 square root of x minus negative 6, and then that plus 0 is going to go on the outside. So let's go ahead and clean up this equation a little bit. We have y equals that one coefficient I don't need to write, and then I have my square root. Minus negative will just become plus, so I have the square root of x plus 6, and I don't need to write that plus 0 at the end, right? I can leave this equation just as y equals the square root of x plus 6. So now you can go ahead and pause the video and try doing this example on your own. Here you can see in my table, I have these data points already entered in. I'm going to go to the second row and then type y1 and then approximately a square root of x1 minus h, and then click outside the square root to do my plus k. And now it's going to give me the values of a, h, and k that I need in order to write my equation. So my equation will now be y equals 1 square root of x minus negative 2 and then plus negative 5. So let's go ahead and condense this equation a little bit. So I have the square root of x minus negative 2, that's going to be x plus 2, plus negative 5, that's just going to become minus 5 on the outside. So y equals the square root of x plus 2 minus 5 is my square root equation. So using a table of values, you can write the square root regression using Desmos.